From addressing the true story of the missing Malaysian plane to solving the craziest fan theories on the internet, here's why a Manifest movie needs to happen. If you're somebody with a Wi-Fi connection and a social media profile, chances are you've probably heard about the mind-twisting show Manifest. With the show's fourth and final season wrapping up in 2023, the fan theories have only gotten crazier. While a fifth season isn't in the works, fans desperately need a Manifest movie to tie all those loose ends together. And I'm about to spill all the deets on just how important it is. Remember the missing 2014 Malaysian flight that took the world by storm? Yeah, the show is based on that disappearance, and if I still don't have your attention, let me tell you. While the story is drawn from that famous incident, that's where all the resemblance ends. Conspiracy YouTube blew up with theories of parallel universes and Bermuda Triangles after the disappearance of the plane. And Manifest basically took all of that and turned it into this nail-biting series. This is where I've got to talk about the one thing that fans love the most, the show's experimentation with timelines. So by this point, it's no surprise, Manifest has this massive fan base and they're super dedicated. A movie would not only make these die-hard fans go wild, but also bring in a whole bunch of newbies who missed out on the series. So picture this. Flight 828 vanishes into thin air and then reappears 5.5 years later. With this plotline, the show only scratched the surface of what went down during those missing years. And like most of us, I'm not even entirely convinced the passengers weren't long dead or in a coma for the past 5 years. I'm positive the entire flight was literally resurrected from the dead. With a movie to go with the 4 seasons, the fans could get much deserved clarity on whether the real plotline of the show is parallel universes or just mind-bending biblical references. Cause I know for sure the resurrection arc would definitely make for a thrilling movie adaptation, tying up a bunch of loose ends that the fans just can't stop thinking about. Yeah, they need answers. The conspiracy theorists are at it, but we need a final movie to lay it all down to rest. Cause the theories I'm talking about will leave you scratching your heads. Like this one about Cal. So, according to a Reddit user, Cal might have had a glimpse into the future, knowing that his mom, Grace, was gonna meet a tragic end. Even though he knew the terrible outcome, he still pushed his family to accept Angelina. When Cal returned home after the 5-year gap, he didn't seem surprised to find Grace fighting for her life. Talk about mind-blowing, right? But here's another theory catching fire on Reddit, and if it plays out in a movie, I can't even imagine the fans' reactions. You know Zeke, the guy who somehow gets the callings, even though he wasn't even on Flight 828? Well, according to this popular theory, Zeke might have lost his soul when he got resurrected. Yeah, you heard that right. It's like he's become this vessel that absorbs other people's emotions and feelings. Sounds creepy, doesn't it? This is alluded to through the empath powers he gets, and the fact he can even use them to save Cal at the end of Season 3. Don't even get me started on the entire spiel of the callings. What if they're not what we think they are? And speaking of these callings, a Reddit user has a theory that challenges that whole idea. This user thinks that the visions might actually be manipulating characters like Cal, making them do questionable things without even realizing it. I mean, you've already seen how the strong connection between Cal and Angelina caused all sorts of trouble for the Stone family. So, is there a darker side to these callings? And what does that mean for the passengers' fate after the 4th season? While that's a theory I can get behind, some of them are a little too far-fetched. Like the one where people think the flight was abducted by aliens. According to some fans, the passengers could have gone through some crazy experiments and then returned to the present day with these special abilities. Or maybe it's all tied to some kind of divine consciousness. Cause I know I'm gonna be at the edge of my seat till I'm sure of how they began getting their callings. Either way, the truth behind their disappearance might be out of this world. Or is it all just connected entirely? Hold on to your hats, cause things are about to get trippy. This theory dives into the idea of a multiverse. Imagine this, the events in Manifest created a whole new timeline, with bits and pieces of the previous one seeping through. It's like the passengers are living in this fractured reality where everything's connected. But how will all these overlapping timelines affect their destinies? Can they find a way to make sense of it all? It's like you're on a roller coaster ride through parallel worlds. But here's the one that really had me thinking all kinds of things. Could it be that the entire world of Manifest is just a big old simulation? Like, imagine if everything we've seen so far is just a virtual reality created by some tired programmers, or maybe even a higher power trying to communicate something. Yeah, it might sound like a cliche twist, but this show's got everyone hooked with its complexity and exciting details, and the fans need a resolution that's way more extraordinary than a simple simulation, don't you think? The truth is out there, and it must be uncovered, because there's so many more lingering questions keeping us all at the edge of our seats. Like, what happened during the 2-year time jump? The endless possibilities are just waiting to be discussed in a movie, and could give everyone all the closure they need. And who knows? Maybe a movie based entirely on this 2-year time skip could potentially lay every theory to rest and give the fans some resolution. Or even better, what if it sparks up newer and even more interesting theories, like this next one? So, is everyone in 2024 dead? See, the 828ers managed to escape the chaos of a lava-covered New York City and find themselves back in their past timeline. But what about the others? What about grown-up Olive, Eden, Jared, Drea, and their adorable newborn baby? Are they now nothing more than dust and ash, forever separated from their passenger family? And what about Vance and the rest of the world? Did that timeline simply vanish? Or are those left behind in 2024 supposed to somehow continue living in a shattered world? Would they think the passengers ended up saving the world but didn't survive their death date? Talk about a major question mark hanging over the fans' heads. And that's not all. Can someone explain why forgiveness wasn't enough for Angelina? So Ben, in a remarkable act of grace, forgave her enough to allow her on the ark. But despite his forgiveness, it seems it wasn't sufficient to save Angelina from judgment. I'm not exactly advocating for her salvation here, because, let's be real, she was consistently terrible. But if Egan could make it to the other side, what was the criteria for surviving this judgment? Because towards the end, she did end up showing signs of remorse and goodwill. Still, who else needed to forgive Angelina in order for her to have a shot at redemption? It's a puzzle that's begging to be solved at this point, but here's where the movie could create so much more buzz around her character. What if the film adaptation could use the 2 years skipped over in season 3 to 4's timeline as an opportunity for a deeper dive into the psyche of Angelina? Or even better, what if we get ourselves an even more twisted timeline experimentation? So, it's easy to understand why the fans are upset about the show not being renewed for season 5. But God, can you imagine a prequel situation going on for this entire series? And wouldn't it just make perfect sense to address grappling questions like, why were the 828 passengers even selected for the callings in the first place? Or what common factor, a butterfly effect, led them all to their ultimate destiny, aka Flight 828? Because I can bet you anything, the audiences will definitely be rolling out to the theaters for this one. So, there you have it, guys. From solving the craziest fan theories and questions on the internet to addressing the true story of the missing Malaysian plane, these were just some of the reasons why producers need to release Manifest, the movie.